If you haven't noticed yet somehow, there is a new update for BTD6, and it adds a new hero, a new game mode, and a new map, and some big balance changes. I usually leave update videos to those with early access or those who rush out a video within like hour 1 of the update being out, but today I actually want to chime in because this update does not sit well with me. If you've been a long-time viewer, you may know that I tend to be very positive about Ninja Kiwi in regards to their games and updates, but I also want to be honest. By the way, I want to try hitting 2K subs by Christmas, so help me if you can or want to. Thank you. First of all, the easiest thing to gripe about is the new game mode. I'll be honest, this feels like it will go the way of contested territories and odysseys and be exciting for a while, but turn into background noise once the newness factor wears out. I say this because, like contested territories, it has one gimmick, and that is to defeat a boss several times. This doesn't sound exciting in premise IMO, and will probably lose its magic within like one cycle or so, but I'd like to be proven wrong, as maybe it'll gain new traits every week like boss events do, perhaps some interesting tower restrictions, but we'll see. Next, I feel like some of the balance changes were kinda weird and possibly not good. The first one I noticed is that they have the life buff given from winking lives with Heart of Vengeance. I heard this is because of challenges or something of the sort, but I generally couldn't say 50% less of a buff was totally necessary considering the risk you run by leaking 70 lives to begin with. But if I'm just simply lacking the context as to why this was done, I guess tell me about it, but I just think this was kinda random, honestly. Also, nerfing Monkeyopolis' base income feels kind of misdirected IMO, because they said it overperforms, but if it's a boss event, I feel like this might be a bit much, since affording towers in the early game is already kind of difficult without selling your farms. Especially speaking to more recent boss weeks like Max Speed Vortex, couldn't imagine that that would really make that particular week more balanced, for example. I feel like, if anything, if Ninja Kiwi is really concerned about the balance of boss events, I feel like they would rather go after a tower like MAD or Banana Research Facility, seeing that the mid-game is typically where the snowballing really begins. And unlike the Monkeyopolis, where sometimes it's not the right move, the MAD is almost always the right move, same thing with Banana Research Facility. But I suppose the balancing of boss events can really be a perspective thing, but personally, I just really think that the mid-game is more worthy of nerfing than the early game, because the early game, in my experience at least, is always quite poverty. And before talking about the hero, I find it very funny how Oben now gives druids camo detection at level 8, because I guess Oben just can see camo, he just chooses not to. Also, a direct message to Ninja Kiwi: every time you buff the Super Monkey Fan Club, I personally become stronger. So, you are warned. Now, I think the most important part of this update, and what inspired me to make this video, is Rosalina. I don't really get why she exists, to be honest, and that probably sounds pretty harsh. There are many heroes that have overlapping niches, but I generally don't feel the need to use Rosalina over any other hero. Maybe it's a bad first impression, considering that Rosalina's release is looking to be on the underpowered side of things. Not every release can be balanced on launch, of course, but as it stands right now, both of her attacks are kind of mid. And her level 7 and 10 are both, well, mid as well. Especially the nanobomb, considering it takes so long to be set and then armed. And another thing, moving her around is pretty slow, which is pretty important considering that that's pretty much her gimmick. And she also stops attacking when moving, which are both pretty big downsides. But possibly the saddest part of it all is the fact that the passive discount buff at level 6 is only 5%, and that's just underwhelming. The fact that this never even goes up, and at most saves like a couple thousand on tier 4 and tier 5 upgrades, it's kinda sad to look at. For example, you save $3,655 on Apache Prime using this discount. At this rate, you might as well use discount villages and Geraldo to get a better discount and gain other buffs with it. Now, Rosalina at level 20 also gives a whopping 30% discount on Anti-Bloon, which is a $22,680 discount. Pretty good. However, notice how I said it's at level 20. Something she doesn't hit until past around 100, even on expert difficulty. Great. Now, this isn't the worst update ever. In fact, it's not a terrible update, it's just, well, I just expected more. But I suppose I should ask, what do you guys think, those who've been watching all the way until this point? Do you like the update? Do you like this new hero? And do you in fact perhaps agree or disagree with what I'm saying? Tell me in the comments, or perhaps you want to be more direct and tell me in my Discord, which, believe it or not, does exist. I still look at it every day, but yeah, it's just not the most active. But with that said, happy Pride Month, and I will see you all another day.